John Gallaudet is in the center in this shot and the next. He played Guts Regan in the San Francisco production of Night of January 16.
Oh.
What I tell you?
Hey, wait a minute, I had a flush.
A flush? You had a royal flush.
I did?
Yeah. James Brewster. What's the matter, Marty? You know him? A big electric sign fell on him, only it didn't just fall, it was pushed. After one of the supporting stanchions had been cut clean with a chisel.
Charlotte Winters in the San Francisco production played Bourne Faulkner's wife, a role which would have to be played so that audiences might or might not believe testimony that Faulkner loved a woman other than her. This movie was released 3 years later.
Tell me some more about my dad.
I've told you all I can, dear. Now go to sleep.
How long has he been dead, Mother?
Bob, you had no right to come here. Joy thinks you're dead.
Died, serving his country.
I had to lie to him, and you're not going to come back and spoil everything now.
The leading lady in San Francisco was Netta Harrigan. The San Francisco Chronicle said she remained proud, serene, almost haughty, bringing out at the same time her inner emotional tension. Harrigan, Edwin Maxwell, Herbert Rawlinson, John Gallaudet, and Charlotte Winters retained their same 5 roles when the play moved from San Francisco to Hollywood, where it opened March 1st, 1936, at the El Capitan Theater. You are seeing the cast list of the original London production, which opened September 1936. The name Don Badeau turns up as consistently working on Broadway 1929 to 1935, and he began a Hollywood career in 1938 playing small roles for the next several decades. The Don Badeau of Broadway and Hollywood was also the Don Badeau who acted in England 1936 to 1937. The program for the London production of Night of January 16, which you see here, reports that he was American and had been appearing on Broadway. Badeau never returned to England to work. 4 major British newspapers don't report any Don Badeau acting there the dozen years before 1936 nor the dozen years after 1937. We see him in the 1950 Hollywood film of Cyrano de Bergerac.
Well, tell me, why are you staring at my nose?
Oh, I was not staring.
Does it astonish you?
Why, no, I've been careful not to look.
Possibly you find it just a trifle large.
No, small, very small, tiny, infinitesimal.
With Night of January 16th, an established hit Broadway play, a movie of it was a good commercial prospect, more so than when MGM had that opportunity while the title was Penthouse Legend. The sale of the rights didn't occur as quickly as usually the case because Al Woods didn't put them on the market early on. He sought to form his own movie company to produce movie adaptations of this play and subsequent plays. 2 years later, he made a conventional sale. RKO bought the rights, seeking the very popular Claudette Colbert to star in it. Colbert could play gutsy and self-protective, wise and feminine, unwilling to be made fool of.
Let's have a drink and I'll tell you all about it.
No, dancing's my vice.
Your only vice?
No.
Okay. Let's go. You wouldn't go for a kiss, would you?
No, not very far. Why?
Well, because...
Oh, because I'm the most beautiful girl you ever saw.
That's right. What's a nice...
Oh, no, that one, too. What's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this? Well, that's all settled. Now I'll give you my telephone number, and then I guess you can kiss me.
Thanks.
No, I'm very busy right now.
Well, are you being kissed on Friday?
What day is that?
Today. Now, they used to hang guys up here by the wrist.
Colbert accompanies the reporter as he itemizes historic artifacts inside an old ship.
Oh!
Those familiar with the play Night of January 16th and who remember what occurred between Karen Andre and her employer the night they met.
Hey, wait a minute!
You're there. And lock that one.
Might be fascinated by how Colbert plays this scene.
Tight.
Ow!
Good and tight around there. And now, you little son of a... You're gonna get kissed. How did you like it?
That was torture.
Not for me. Spanish. 14th century.
Spanish?
Yeah, thanks. Enough torture?
I could take it.
Not Spanish.
RKO was planning to begin filming with Claudette Colbert in August 1938. Colbert's salary was then the highest of any actress. Colbert was the highest paid woman in America several years in a row. RKO didn't go into production that year, but on the last day of 1938, this report appeared that a producer was assigned, writers about to be named, and Colbert still to star. 2 days later, a headline announced the same plan about Colbert. 1 year and 7 days after Ayn Rand put her signature on a contract to sell movie rights to Night of January 16th to RKO, another contract became binding by which RKO sold those same rights to Paramount. As of July 20, 1939, Paramount has owned the movie rights. Paramount made arrangements with 20th Century Fox for Don Amici to star in Night of January 16th. This could have resulted in a combination of Claudette Colbert and Don Amici topping the cast, a combination that worked well in Paramount's superb 1939 champagne comedy Midnight. Ayn Rand was in New York, where she had adapted her 1936 novel We the Living into a play about to be produced titled The Unconquered. Dean Jagger was cast as Andre opposite the play's star, Eugenie Leontovich. Onslow Stevens was cast as the lead Russian aristocrat, Leo. Other members of the Unconquered cast were named in a December 21, 1939 story. The story correctly notes that the last on the list, Frank O'Connor, is Ayn Rand's husband. 2 days later, an ad appeared in the Baltimore Sun, as Baltimore is the city where the play tried out before heading to Broadway. This December 24th Baltimore Sun ad names the 3 lead actors, Leontovich, Jagger, Stevens. The Baltimore Sun ran a story about the play on December 24th with this photo of Eugenie Leontovich and Onslow Stevens in the roles of Kira and Leo. In a film the year before Onslow Stevens played Leo, we see how Stevens played a role of proud bearing and unique ambitions.
Now, in most of these cases, the tissue structure of the body is not destroyed. The heart merely ceases to beat. And I will have the formula that will start the blood circulating again, and with it breath, and with it life. When I complete my experiments, I shall be able to bring the dead back to life.
Dean Jagger demonstrates in a 1936 film how he could play a character in a leadership position, one who cultivates a ruthless disposition and suffers his lover's scorn.
He says that the general keeps his ears in the ground like the ears of a corpse, that he'll not listen to the words of wisdom. Is it so terrible to fight for and to get the one thing in this world you want?
What was it you said once about if you want anything, ride roughshod over everything?
Is that all I'm to ever have? Your gratitude?
Yes?
I envy Clifford. I'd give up everything I have if you could just find it in your heart to think kindly of me.
On January 18th, 1940, the Baltimore engagement having long closed, the New York Times carried this report that Eugenie Leontovich had been replaced by Helen Craig. Helen Craig didn't start making movies until the end of the decade. This photograph is from one of her few films before she left the film medium long term. She waited to turn again to movies and television over 2 decades later. Variety also did a story saying that while Kira was being played by Eugenie Leontovich, the lead had been miscast. The Unconquered opened mid-February on Broadway to a very short run and bad reviews. Dean Jagger was the only cast member among the top 3 roles to be retained from the Baltimore production. John Emery graced the stage of The Unconquered as Leo during the Broadway run of February 13th through 17th, 1940. We're seeing him 2 years later.
Well, my flower, it is good to see you again. How's married life? Boring, I trust?
I'm very happy, Paul.
Splendid. Did you come for Barbara? She left some time ago.
No, I didn't come for Barbara.
You know, Norma, you're still very attractive. You age more cheerfully than I. I'm getting frightfully worried about my looks. Cigarette?
You spoke just now of age. Barbara's only 17.
The actress in this scene is Anne Harding, one of those thought of by Al Woods when casting Karen Andre for the Broadway production of The Night of January 16th.
Don't hurt her, Paul.
I have no intention of hurting her.
I'm sorry I said that, Paul.
No, you're not sorry, darling. You meant every word.
Back in Hollywood, reports emerged February 12th that Barbara Stanwyck would play opposite Don Amici for Paramount in the movie of Night of January 16. This is the same Barbara Stanwyck whom Al Woods had thought of for the Broadway production 5 years earlier. Another story the same day likewise reported that Stanwyck was in where Colbert was out, but added that a top director was assigned, Mitchell Layson, and that 7 years earlier, RKO could have bought the rights cheap when Ayn Rand was working in the studio's wardrobe department, but that instead RKO paid big money before selling to Paramount. 2 months later, The Hollywood Reporter disclosed that Don Amici refused to play Guts Regan and was being sued. Later stories reported that Amici was always concerned to convey an upright image and did not want to play a brutal character. A month and a half later, on May 23rd and 24th, 2 stories told readers that there were now 2 cast changes in the top 2 roles. Again, 2 big stars, Paulette Goddard and Ray Milland. The title was changed again. It was to be Secrets of a Secretary. In the May 24th story, syndicated columnist Luella Parsons asked why change the title when the play was a hit. She said it was a darn good play. The Don Amici lawsuit was ongoing, she reported. Paramount had 9 years earlier made a movie called Secrets of a Secretary and had Claudette Colbert starred in the adaptation of Night of January 16th under the planned new title for the movie. It would have meant she would have starred in 2 movies titled Secrets of a Secretary that otherwise would be different. Back when Ayn Rand had contracted with MGM to adapt Night of January 16th for Myrna Loy, back when the only title for it was Penthouse Legend, Myrna Loy would have potentially made 2 movies back-to-back with the same or similar titles. Myrna Loy, at the very time of MGM's contracting Ayn Rand, was filming a movie called Penthouse. Not Penthouse Legend, but just plain Penthouse. Film Daily reported in its August 11th issue that just plain Penthouse had recently finished filming. The Hollywood Reporter carried a review of the completed edited Penthouse in its August 22nd issue, and the movie was in theaters September 8th. With so much occurring from July 25th to September 8th, it couldn't have happened that Ayn Rand's story Penthouse Legend could have provided the basis for the movie MGM released as Penthouse 6 weeks later, despite what a respected film information resource says. This respected film information resource provides citations to trade papers indicating that Penthouse Legend was Ayn Rand's original idea, whereas just plain Penthouse is from a story by one Arthur Summers Roche. More reason to recognize that the 2 projects were unrelated except for similar titles and the same leading lady. Had Colbert made both A Secrets of a Secretary in 1931 and another Secrets of a Secretary in 1940 with different stories, it would have been no different than John Wayne making both The New Frontier in 1935 and New Frontier in 1939 with different stories. But that happened. Had Myrna Loy followed Penthouse from Roche's story with Penthouse Legend from Ayn Rand's story, it would have been comparable to Alfred Hitchcock filming W. Somerset Maugham's story Ashendon in 1936 as Secret Agent, and then later that same year filming Joseph Conrad's story The Secret Agent as Sabotage. Don Amici settled with Paramount. He would play a role originally intended for Ray Milland, whereas Ray Milland would play the role Amici refused. Ray Milland had been playing lead roles in murder mysteries and light comedies. You're about to see him avow the value of his life. In 1940, he was still 5 years from surprising Hollywood with his Academy Award-winning role as an alcoholic in The Lost Weekend.
Exactly on the count of 3, I'm going to end an awkward situation.
2 can play the game.
If you value your life.
And I assure you I do. Before my life and Miss Clavering's freedom, I'll bargain with you.
I don't bargain.
Paulette Goddard could exude joy and pleasantness, but also get feisty when she fought for her values.
Don't you tell me to keep my mouth shut. Why should I? What is this, another one of your tricks? I don't need any help from you. What? Oh!